All right. Welcome to Freddy Live with Raul Tomsa. He works at Motor Werks in Chicago, and he recently quit his job, so we thought we'd have him on the show. Fill us in. What happened? What's going on?
Hey, Freddie. Thanks for having me. Happy New Year. Um, I don't know if I could really give you all the credit for this, but a lot of what you guys have been doing over the last year or so on social media has really inspired me. And I've seen some of these creators really come out, Russ being one of them, and he's been really friendly with me. And, there's this scene in I think one of the Marvel movies where like Thanos goes and gets the glove thing. And he goes, I'll just do it myself. Well, I had one of those moments and I decided to start selling cars.
So you were the used car manager of a single dealership, or what was your role before you just decided to do this?
Correct. Used car manager of Mercedes-Benz of Barrington.
Sounds like a pretty good gig. So you take a used car
It was.
manager job and then you decide to go back to the sales floor for an attempt to generate your own leads primarily using social media and kind of build a team underneath you at that dealership, right?
Correct. What's really special about this place, Motorworks, is an auto mall. We have 5 stores under one roof and also a Cadillac store on the franchise, on the campus. So to have access to 6 OEMs under one roof. Now, I'm primarily a Benz guy,
Yeah,
but there's always customers coming in. Hey, I'm looking at GLS and an X7. Well, Motorworks is really special in that they allow the client advisors here to cross sell. I worked at
that's
another
great.
dealer group that
That's
had
that's
two
an ideal
stores.
gig.
Yeah, ideal, right? And you could build this like following, this book of business. I mean, we've had guys, we have a Honda store here, and it's in an affluent neighborhood, and you'll see the kookiest thing I've seen is guy comes in, gets his wife an Odyssey because they have multiple kids, and then gets himself a 911. It's pretty
So
unique.
Raul, think about this. When you walked into the general manager's office or the owner's office and you said, "Hey, I no longer want to be the used car manager. I have a vision to become a salesperson to build my own business within the four walls of your business." What did they say to you? Did they think you're crazy? Are they saying, "No, you're on this, trajectory to be a, general manager or one of the executives of the company. No, stick around and do this." How did they feel about not losing, but basically shifting excellent talent from the management desk to the sales floor and effectively flattening a management style?
They were supportive. They were supportive because they saw kind of what I was doing over the last few months as I was ramping this whole thing up. And, I'm not the kind of guy to leave a position high and dry. So let's just say I sort of prepared
That's great. So
my
you kind of
exit.
you laid the groundwork so that a used car manager could step in and be successful from day one.
Correct. And here
Nice.
I'm helping. I'm helping, right?
Of course, yeah, and I'm sure your social media that you've developed is good for acquiring pre-owned vehicles as well for their own inventory, so they probably appreciate that. But
Correct.
tell me about, you are jumping off a cliff and you're kind of like building the rocket on your way down. So tell me about you had a great pay plan as a used car manager, and now you're basically going to replace all that income, and you're not 18 years old, a guy that didn't go to college or like just doing this off a whim. You're an established automotive executive with like a great career track behind you, and now you're going to go eat what you kill. And then how much leeway or runway are you giving yourself to get back to the old used car manager income, or do you expect to make more money in this month right now?
Oh, that's a good question because, yeah, I'm a married father of four. It's not just, I didn't, and I took a long, hard look at what I was doing, and I saw an opportunity. Now we're at a store that's got a long history. It's been about 50 years in business, so it's got a really good client base that needs to be handled, um, taken care of properly, right? And I just thought to myself, you know what? um, I got to do this, right? I got to do this. Comp plans are comp plans, right? They're designed to do one thing, make you work for them, right? So the thing that's special about our place, we are a one and only type place, A to Z. Your client advisor here gets does the whole thing front and back. So
Oh, so you were
I
already
sell
the
you the
finance
vehicle.
manager, you're already the salesman. This isn't too drastic of a shakeup. You kind of have this opportunity before you because you can make money on both the front end and the back end of the vehicle.
So we pay a flat commission. There's no commission for our sale or client advisors on the sale, but we do have the F&I component of it. And I was in the F&I office for 8 years of my career, 7, 8 years of my career. So now it's one of these things where, to have the opportunity to kind of write your own deals. And I'll tell you something very funny. This is my second tour of duty at this store. I was hired here in 2018. We opened up a JLR point, and a year later, and they said, "Hey, can you get that going?" Well, a couple months later, they sold it to another group, and now I'm back. And the funny thing is this is what I was hired to do here in 2018. The then GSM, Amar, good buddy of mine, hired me and he says, I had this wild idea where I'm going to put you in the service drive. And because you have all this experience, I'm going to let you appraise the cars. I'm going to let you sell them the new car and I'm going to let you bill them out and I'll pay you front and back. And I want you to be like this upgrade guy of your own department. You get to run this on your own. And I
I
said, well,
remember that
that's
was a bit of a
interesting.
trend
And then an
back then.
FN,
They wanted to put somebody in the service lane and kind of like see what they could make out of it, make it like its
right.
own department. Yeah.
Right. And so um, a month later, an F&I position became available. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't really ramp this up. I need the money now. I'm just going to go do traditional F&I. So it is kind of fun, ironic to see that 6 years later, 7 years later, I wind up doing the job that I was originally hired here to do.
Let's evaluate the opportunity as it stands before you. Tell me about how many leads you're
Mhm.
generating off of social media. Do you still get leads from the dealership? Are you going to take any walk-ins? And then, what are these social media leads closing like? What's the quality of them? How are they local? How do you handle offsite, or, long distance deals? Does your dealership like those? Or are they becoming a pain? Or are you down to solve the problem? What's the long-term vision here? When do you think you'll have to hire a sales assistant? And then how do you envision structuring that?
Yeah, great question. So I will be on the lead rotation. We also have, we're automotive mastermind dealership. There's a lot of orphan customers that I'll be able to help with just because I can move quick, right? I could appraise your vehicle, write your new deal. And will I take? Yeah, I took my first up on Saturday, and it was a slower day, so I only got the one up. But it,
Yeah.
the gal was a social media marketing expert, and I told her what I'm doing, and she loved it, and we had a great time. She was giving me pointers, and all this. And so what I envision this is, the leads are starting to come through. I'm going to have sort of my own website, all the inventory from these 6 stores to feed to that one website, control sort of my own leads that I make. And eventually, when sales assistant, hopefully 3, 4 months, I should look towards to having something that like that. I've already had a lot of brokers reach out to me from a
Oh,
couple of my videos where they're like,
that's a good segment to capture
yeah.
if possible. I think that could be really fruitful for you. Um, Yeah, I think you're doing something that's really unique and you're really brave because you're doing this as an adult guy with expenses and children and all of this, and you're going headfirst at it. And I do like your vision a lot. How do you think somebody who's in the dealership in a management role or on the sales floor and they'd want to take a run at what you're doing, how would they get started? What's step one? And then how do they know when to go all in on this concept? And another thing, I secretly think that this is a very appealing route to take because I think you can take control of your schedule a little better as well. If you have people working under you, they can stay and deliver the late vehicle. They can come in on Sunday to do the delivery or do the off day delivery or whatever it is. That little kind of like nitpicky work that you always get dragged in on your day off. Is the vision to take
Mhm.
control of your schedule as well eventually? Do you think you can get a better quality of life out of this?
Great question. So for now, thankfully in Illinois, we're closed Sundays. I'll be 6 days a week. I'm looking
Nice.
at this as building a business. I'm not looking at this as I am a client advisor. I will take that that job seriously. But I'm building a business within a business here. And the idea being, yes, hopefully by 6 p.m. most days, I could just right, we close at 7, so it's not like I'd be taking off that early. But that's the idea of if I'm generating this sort of this business and customers are coming in because of the experience or at home deliveries, again, I'm just good at this because I've been doing this as long as I have. I could just do a deal. It's not hard for me to do a deal, right? Um, back to your first question is yes, right? I have 4 kids. I kind of want to take, when you're a sales manager, you're a daddy or a mommy at the dealership, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you're tied to that desk. That this is your desk, right? And the people need you. The people are relying on you. And I've always been the kind of guy that my client advisors can rely on, right? Whether it be TO calling a customer, whatever. I make myself available. But as a manager, yeah, you're tied to the store versus what I'm planning on this is as I grow my sales team sort of within this place is sure, maybe I am your 8:30 to 5. And maybe on a Saturday, if it's my kid's soccer game or something, I can sneak out for 2 hours and come back, which you can't really do as a manager. And even though I will say this place, Motor Werks of Barrington, has the best work-life balance, and our owners, the Mercado Auto Group, give us a very sweet life. So I'm very
That's amazing.
thankful, and
Few
that's why I'm doing
few
it here.
employees at dealerships really can say that. I think that's such a luxury if you find a place that respects the employee's time. I think that's how you really recruit excellent people is you give them some sort of schedule. And so when you hire a sales assistant, are you going to ask the dealership to pay them a portion of what they pay you, or is the dealership going to totally cover the cost, or have you not crossed the bridge yet? Because I think you don't want to pay with post-tax dollars, right? Unless you want to keep your own 1099 team. It would probably be tax efficient if the money came from the dealership to the employee, but I don't know, maybe not crazy. What's your vision for how are you eventually going to pay a sales assistant?
Well, let's just say Vincierge is now an LLC. I'm just waiting for the state of Illinois to come back with that. And there's a lot that's going to be sort of done through there, right? Like, why am I doing that? Well, I started looking like, well, if I'm going to be spending money on meta ads, why, my post-tax dollars pay $1,000 a month towards meta ads and not be able to deduct that, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
whether it be it's got to come from an account, and we got to start having some deductions, right? By the end of this year, I told my wife, the Cadillac Escalade, right? We got a Section 179. This puppy somehow 100% deductions are back, baby. So, um,
Pound as soon as possible.
right, right. So, again, the sales assistant is one thing we're looking at. I think my first hire, hopefully, even though most of my content I'm sort of producing myself, would be a videographer and an editor,
Hmm.
is what I'm looking at, hopefully within the next few months. And thankfully we have product specialists here, right? So they do the deliveries and stuff for you. They set up the customer, so you could
We
just
have a lot of clipping and editing
we
resources
yeah,
when the time comes. We do all bends and bow ties work. If you ever need it, we'd love to do your clipping and editing. Proud to do it.
sure, absolutely.
Yeah. Dude, well, this is really incredible. I'm rooting for you. Do you think that sharing your success with your audience is going to be crucial to this? And then tell us about the platforms and, what did your followers on social media say to you? What platforms are returning the best leads to you? And tell us about a recent experience that either failed or succeeded.
For sure. So I started off on Instagram because I've just been on Instagram for as long as I have, and Facebook and whatnot, and started to figure out the algorithm. I mean, I think from September to the beginning of December, I got to 500 followers, and then sort of the beginning of December, finally feeding this thing, it took off. So I'm about 6,000 now, just shy of 6,000. So December was a gigantic month for me. TikTok, I started about a month ago. I'm about 6,100 on TikTok. And then I realized that pushing from Instagram to Facebook doesn't really help you. you have to upload to Facebook separately if you actually want any views. So I
Mm.
started a Facebook page a couple weeks back. And so that's a tip for anybody. You have to individually post to each of these if you want the traction on those platforms. A recent lead was just a customer that saw, I had a video on TikTok go pretty viral. 90% of my followers came from one video explaining how to get out of a negative equity situation. And this gentleman was local, and I set an appointment, and then he was playing on our website, and he goes, "Actually, I can't afford this lease." And he reached out to me and he said, "You know what? Let me save up 3 months. I'll see you then." So what am I looking at? I'm looking at a long-term thing. I mean, one of the videos I'll be uploading soon is, hey, you're not car shopping today. That's okay. You might be car shopping in 6 months or 6 years. I'll be here. And
That
I've
is the
got these six
nature of
brands
a
to help you
social
with.
media follower. A social media follower is the creator's first party data. And every time they post something relevant to that niche, it's effectively remarketing at those people. So I'd have more faith in a social media follower to buy in 3 months from you than I would a lead that goes cold into the DMS or the CRM, because that guy's seeing
Right.
you every day again and again and again and again. So when it comes time for him to buy a car, you are the guy he'll buy from because he's got this, trust and awareness of you.
Right.
Yeah. So
Absolutely. I'm looking
when
forward to it.
tell me about what would, God forbid this ever happens, but when would you go back to the used car manager job? What would it take for you to go back to the used car manager? Because I've failed at things. I've had a food franchise that I closed one time. I mean, I could tell you about countless things that I failed at, but I've also had successes that have changed my life, and things that have allowed me, like Freddy Media has allowed me to take control of, I'd say my schedule, but I'm up till midnight, like, talking to George Saliba or whatever. But, like entrepreneurship's an incredible thing. I think what you're doing is entrepreneurial, and I think that you're building a model that could possibly be the future of automotive retail. So, how do you basically gauge your success a year from now, 2 years
Mhm.
from now, versus your commitment to this and seeing it through to the long-term vision, as opposed to ever cutting and running back to the management job? Because I think that's what gets most people that work in automotive, is they know right there's a job waiting for me for $250,000 a year, and I could go get that whenever I want. And how do you avoid that temptation and continue to build this?
Well, if you do have one of those 250 jobs, would you let me know where? Because I haven't been able
Yeah.
to find them.
Freddie Media, let's
Freddie,
go. Hop in here.
Freddie, Freddie, those jobs are drying up.
Really?
Freddie, at least around these parts, sure, are there maybe high performing Toyota stores doing 600 units and you're there till midnight? Absolutely.
That's the
But
only car business I know, is like high performing Toyota stores with psychotic schedules.
and I know that about you. That's why I said that, right? And it's like the management jobs in and around this business are still great. I mean, I'm not complaining. Obviously, I'm grateful for the opportunity I had. I worked for a great store. However, I look at the opportunity. I look at the client. We have client advisors that have been here 30 years. Okay. And I look at and I've dealt with them, and they're all great people. Um, However, again, the way that this place is set up, right? Like we're a Techion store. So you start your pencils in the DMS. I've got Vin Solutions and I've got Techion. You work your CRM and you start a deal in Techion and you do your F&I in there. And then we have these guys called loan processors. They print all your paperwork and give you the iPad to have them sign to do your plates. And you sign them up, right? So what am I looking at? I'm looking at the success that top client advisors have had here. And I look at it like I I can do that too. You know what I mean? And maybe at a slightly higher level because of my years of experience. and I
That's
love
so
sharing
interesting.
my,
You're saying the
my.
management career track in the dealership isn't what it used to be because that was all I was interested in. I had to become the top sales guy. I think my first year I made 110 working in a car dealership. Then I became, a new car manager. I think I made 164. Used car manager, I think I made like 215, and then eventual GSM jobs flirting with like the mid
Mhm.
fours, and with hope to get a general manager job one day where you could perhaps be a partner and make over $1 million a year. Are you saying
Right.
that career track isn't as available now as it once was?
Let me ask you this, right? Have you dealt with a lot of places that have bought stores post-COVID? They probably paid
No.
the wood for them. Well, you should. And the expense structures in a lot of post-COVID stores are a little bit higher. I think here, I wanted to be a GM. There's no way I was not going to be a GM. I wanted to run a store. I wanted to change lives. I wanted to be the leader of guys and gals that wanted to make a difference in their community. And it's hard, right? And maybe, maybe I made the realization that maybe it's not for me. Maybe I'm not the guy. Maybe I'm not the leader that I think I am, right? People tell me I am, but maybe I'm not because I'm not a GM yet. And what am I going to be? Salty? I'm not going to be salty. I love everyone I've ever worked for. I've worked for some great operators. Currently work for an amazing operator. But again, a GM, yeah, this is your life. You're here. It's a 6 day a week. It's an open to
Yeah.
close if you want to do it nowadays, right? It's
What's really interesting
I
is
think
my
what
my family had they were in the caterpillar business. I wasn't, my step family was, and the money to be made there was as a great territory rep. Like if you had the power
okay,
generation territory in Northern Virginia, that was better than any management job you could ever find within the company. And to the point where my brother is the Northern Virginia sales rep for that company right now. And that's a honey hole. That's a sweet gig. Think of all these giant contractors that are based in Washington, D.C. I think like Bechtel is there, all these giant people. You're selling them the Caterpillar equipment while you're building the DC Beltway. It's the most incredible sales territory of all time. You could never offer my brother a management position that he would go jump to from what he's doing. And
right,
I think that's possibly
right.
the opportunity that you're kind of tapping into within automotive or carving out for yourself.
And here, the way I'm looking at it is this is my day job in terms of, and this is my content creating machine. Vincierge, I hope to grow into something a lot bigger than it currently is. Okay. And
Yeah.
you're going to be along for the journey because I don't know if you remember when we first met.
Tell me about it.
You were with Yossi still,
Okay.
and you were just interviewing guys for the podcast, right? And we just had a quick chat or like Google or whatever. And that was one thing where I tweeted at Yossi and I'm like, life goal is to get on the CDG podcast.
I used to
He
monitor the
DMs me the
comments and
link.
I'd hop onto people.
So that was you. You send me the link and you're like, hey, let's chat. We chatted. I didn't have much to say. I'm just a used car manager. I was at a JLR store at that point, right? And I'm like, well, I want to do something bigger. I want to be recognized, as a pillar of this industry somehow, right? And the content, the daily selling, buying, acquiring, and retailing of automotives is interesting. People are following, right? And I'm different. Like if you look at my content, do I jump on some trends? Sure, but if I jump on a trend, I'll like take it in a different direction. I like to make my own sort of path here, and people find it funny. And what Vincierge is going to grow into, you'll see. We're going to talk because I think you're going to be
Yeah.
along for the ride because I'm blown away by what, dude, you're an inspiration, man. Like what
Oh,
you've
thank
done
you so much.
in a year. No, I mean that seriously, hand to God, dude. What you've done in a year, I'm like, wow, you can do something in a year. You know what I mean? If you like really put your nose to the grindstone, you used to think, but like a year can make
Yeah.
all the difference in your life.
I think
And
that
I got to
that
thank
is
you
my
for that.
life goal is to kind of work with people within the four walls of a car dealership and kind of show them the opportunities that are available to them and the real value of their domain expertise that they've garnered solely through hard work and being there and learning the car business. Because that's all I am, is just a guy who like spent his 20s inside of a Toyota store, left the business, and I couldn't really get the vendor job that you think I'd be able to get. I couldn't get the territory
Right.
job for, like the tech company. They didn't want me. They branded me as like an in-store guy when I was like, thought I was like top of my class in high school, went to a pretty good college, pretty smart guy. Um, and then none of it was translating to the ability to get a vendor job. So I had to do whatever it took. Brother, I was managing like a BDC in Nicaragua, selling it to dealers during COVID. And like, that's what cracked me into the business finally. And that became better things eventually, full path and all these nice things. But it's I really empathize with people who work at car dealerships because I think they deserve a great income. They sacrifice a lot. These are smart and clever people that are generally undervalued. And to see a guy like you who's grabbing the opportunity by the horns and building their own stuff, that's what it's all about. And that's really what attracts me to like whatever it is I do for a living. It's like often hard to describe, but I really love empowering people that work at car dealerships to like build great things.
Well, here, I I started selling cars when I'm 20 years old, and I worked at a Volkswagen store. And I think the dream for every car guy is one day you're going to blow somebody away that's going to say, "Come on, kid, follow me." Like you're
Yeah.
just going to sell their socks off, right? So I'll tell you a fun story. A few years ago, it kind of it almost happened. I had a guy, we were thousands of dollars away from a deal, and it was just, the sales guy couldn't pin this guy down. And he's down in Florida. His kid is here, the whole thing. And this guy, from being like $6,000 away in a deal, we bridged the gap. And the funny things are, I'm going to send my son. He lives locally, and he calls his son and he goes, "Go look at this Range Rover for me." But he goes, "Meet this guy Raul," because I mean, we just had this phone conversation, right? Well, his son works in private equity, right? And he
Shout out Johnny
interviews me,
Hilbrandt.
of course. So I'm this close, right? And in talking to him, I'm like, why do you even like why are you even talking to me? I'm just some car guy. He goes, because you know how to talk to people. You know how hard that is to find nowadays? I'm like, so I'm this close to that dream coming to fruition. It didn't pan out, which is fine. It was just fun to almost like
Yeah.
finally, it happened. It was
Oh,
like
brother, I
15
had
years
close
later.
calls. I think I met the guy when I was working at Tyson's Toyota, who was like a co-founder of Uber, that was like selling his car to me and moving to California to start Uber. And I was like, take me with you. That, or like you'd meet congressmen or people like that, or a
Yeah,
Georgetown law professor was like begging for me to go to law school at Georgetown, or like the FBI, an FBI agent always tried to recruit me to join the FBI. And then
right.
you sometimes you're like, what am I wasting my life working inside of a car dealership? But then eventually you realize this is like the most valuable information, most valuable skill set you could ever learn. But Raul, I couldn't be more proud of you, brother. I'm rooting for you. I want you to
Thanks.
post like monthly updates for everybody telling us how you're doing, the trajectory of this thing. I'm down to support in any way. We would offer you like any support you need. I'm not kidding. We want Vincierge to become the next big thing, the king of the Midwest. And thanks so much for hopping on today and chatting with us.
Thanks, Freddy.
Thanks, dude.